service if I like, I order twice. Hibachi, got the gravy on the rice. Rolling in Mexico.
Pittsburgh Steelers fans, welcome into another edition of the Steelers Q&A podcast, live here on YouTube, Facebook, X, wherever you can join us live. We appreciate it. My name is Jeremy Betts, and we are going to be talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers. We're going to talk a little bit about where Pittsburgh might go from here after their big free agency moves, if you want to call it that, their trade for DK Metcalf, their courtship of Aaron Rodgers. How is that going to turn out? And to break it all down with me, one of my best buddies on the podcast network, Corey Eckenroth. Corey at Steely_McPitt. I love it. I love the new handle. I hope people are checking out Corey on X. And Corey, welcome into the show, man. How you doing?
Thanks for having me, Jeremy. As always, it's good to be here on another Sunday night with you, getting these questions answered, seeing how everybody's doing, seeing everybody come in the live chat.
Yep, absolutely. And we got several already in, several of the regulars. Eric Parker, Afton Ford, Anthony Godwin, Daredevil, all in the chat, and more coming, I am sure. If you are tuning in live, ask us questions. Pop them in the comment section on YouTube. On Facebook, give a thumbs up, a like, a subscribe, whatever you need to do to make sure that you don't miss a show. This is just one of the many shows on the Steel Curtain Network. If you are a first-time listener, we have so many different podcasts, and you can check out a live show on YouTube every night of the week, 7 days a week. And there are plenty of audio podcasts as well to get to that you can check out anywhere you get and listen to your podcast. So, Corey, I'm an Apple Podcast guy. I don't know where you listen in on stuff, but are you a Spotify guy? Are you an Apple Podcast guy? What you got?
I am a Spotify guy.
Okay,
It's not only because of some other podcasts that I listen to that are strictly on Spotify. So
there you go. Well, hey, we've already got some questions in here, and we will get to those. But to open things up, Corey, title of the episode, where do the Steelers go from here? I'd like to know, are you happy with the Steelers offseason so far? And what do you think the next step is to continue on the path that they are going on?
I think it's not a typical offseason for the Steelers because they did go out and make a big trade for what has turned out to be the most expensive contract they've ever signed. So we can't say that this has just been a normal Steelers offseason. I think what we had talked about the last time that I was on about building a better team around the quarterback is exactly what they've been trying to do for the last couple of weeks. And I think I think that they're counting on that and they're betting hard on it because this quarterback situation is a little dicey right now, isn't it?
I'm sorry?
I said this quarterback situation's a little dicey, isn't it?
It is. It's very dicey. I'm sorry. I had a distraction in the background. My bad. So yeah, it is a little dicey. There's a couple different directions it could go still. I, for one, and I've been pretty vocal about this anywhere you listen into me and follow me, I've been pretty vocal. I am totally fine with Aaron Rodgers being the quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers this year. And a lot of people asking about breaking the bank and all that. A lot of people don't want the distraction on the team. They think that he's maybe even cooked as a player. Some people think that he's going to try to turn the Pittsburgh Steelers into his plaything like he did with the Jets. And I just don't see any of that happening. Like, let's talk about it from the perspective of the player and what he brings to the table still. If you go back and watch the 2024 tape, especially in the second half of the season, when he was fully healthy and, playing, gotten used to the changes in coaching staff and all the stuff that had gone down early in the season, he played really good football. They didn't win a lot of games, but it wasn't really his fault. The defense fell apart. The offense got unhealthy. The offensive line still stunk. He would be coming into a better situation, and the Pittsburgh Steelers are not going to do what the Jets did and allow Aaron Rodgers to dictate every little thing to them. Rodgers isn't coming in to be the savior of the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's going to be a stopgap solution, Corey. That's exactly what's going to happen. So I don't know. That's how I feel about it. And I think that if he comes in, it's going to be a good thing for the Steelers for 2025, and it won't do anything to harm their push for a quarterback in 2026 in the draft, which is very clear what they're trying to do, in my opinion.
I'll say this much starting off. Having Mason Rudolph as the backup softens the blow for whatever their plan is for Aaron Rodgers. I'll say this much. I think for all of the risk that Aaron Rodgers brings, it's an awfully big price tag that really handcuffs the Steelers from making moves later in the season if it doesn't work, if for some reason he gets hurt, if for some reason there is too much drama and they just decide they don't want to deal with it.
Yeah.
Because I could just imagine what this season is going to look like, having George Pickens and Aaron Rodgers both on the sidelines, jawing at each other because something's not going right. And it could turn bad. And that's a worst case scenario. I'm throwing that out there as a worst case scenario. Best case scenario, he's, his Achilles is at least fully healthy enough to allow him to sustain some mobility. You wouldn't expect somebody at his age to go out and run a 4. Nobody was ever going to see him as Ashton Johnson trying to run a 4.40 or something like that. So as long as he has some mobility that he had before, because that was kind of his trademark to begin with. He was able to extend plays and make all the throws. So he's got to be able to get back to playing like that. Can he at his age on that Achilles heel? Ooh, at that price tag, boy, at that age, it's a lot to take in. It is.
And he's another year older, but Corey, he did it last year. All second half of the season, he was moving around just fine. I think if you look at him at age 41 going into 42 compared to Roethlisberger going into 38, 39, there is no comparison in the way they move. Aaron Rodgers moves way better than Ben Roethlisberger did his final couple seasons. It's not like he's a statue back there. He's got plenty of pocket mobility. He's not going to get out and run anywhere. All right. So don't come at me from the scramble perspective, you people in the chat. That's not happening. I get that, but he can pocket move just fine to get things done down the field. And I think the Steelers' offensive line is better than what the Jets had last year. And I think their weapons are going to be better than what the Jets had last year as well, when you include what they're going to do in the draft, I think.
So I think with Cousins, not with Cousins, but with Rodgers, his arm, is going to be in a better spot than Ben Roethlisberger's was at the end of his career. So I think that does help. No, I think that it's just if there's a lot to it, there's a lot of risk involved. Mike Tomlin is no stranger to adopting drama and trying to roll with it. He's dated crazy a couple times and he's done well for himself. So we'll have to trust the coach knows what he's doing with this if it happens.
Yep. Well, my big question that I posed to everybody is, could this be the marriage that both of these people need? Could this be the Aaron Rodgers doesn't always get his way because it's the Pittsburgh Steelers and Mike Tomlin's the face of the organization, and there's going to be a check put on what Rodgers can request and ask for and all these things. And then also, will Aaron Rodgers be like, no, Mike, we're going to go try to win this game. No, Mike, we're going to call these plays. We're not going to be super conservative because we've got a 5-point lead or a 6-point lead with 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter. No, there's still plenty of time for these teams to win. So I think that the balance could happen. Now, I will admit, one, I'm in the minority on this thought process, and two, I could be totally wrong in the end, and it could blow up magically in front of our faces in 2025. But wouldn't that be more fun, Corey, than Mason Rudolph limping you to 7-8 wins? Wouldn't it be more fun for the fireworks of Aaron Rodgers?
The fireworks in the cameras in the media rooms. It's drama everywhere.
Games.
It's drama everywhere. And listen, best case scenario, he can help this team, get to the playoffs again. where they'll have to spend way more, draft picks to get up there to get the quarterback they actually need next year anyway. So it's 6 of one, half dozen in the other.
Sure.
What do you do?
What do you do?
But the whole point every year is to win the Super Bowl, and you have to give your team the best chance to do that, and you can't give up on any year. There's no team that sandbags it and gives up and tanks for a player. It just does not happen. I got into a back and forth.
Especially when you have talented players on your roster in their prime or at the end of their prime.
You're not going to convince a Minka Fitzpatrick and a Cam Hayward and a TJ Watt to waste a year of their life, while you try to find a quarterback. No, you're going to try to do what you can to win every single year. So so with that, with that in mind, I think the best way to win is at this point with Aaron Rodgers. However risky that is. Russell Wilson, has he signed anywhere yet?
No, he hasn't. He's still out there. He's still waiting. Still waiting and hoping.
You've always got the girlfriend sitting on the swing over there, old trusty that you can come back to.
Yeah. In the end, I don't really care now that they've got Mason Rudolph, because the fallback is fine. But if I'm
limited, it's a limited fallback and but it's still a safe one.
Yes, but if I'm voting for the most exciting Steelers season that we can have, that means Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback of the team.
I gotta agree with you. With you. And having both of those, if Tomlin can get George Pickens on board and then be able to handle the Aaron Rodgers drama, because if it goes well in the first part of the season, it's going to go really well and everybody's going to be happy. But then if it tanks at all, Tomlin's going to have to lasso that in quick. He's going to have to put a stamp on it and make sure that it doesn't. Because if there is, honestly, Betts, I think if there is one character in the NFL that could rock the whole Tomlin boat, in the Steelers locker room, Tomlin's had that aura of being the master of the locker room. But I think if there's one character that could really upset all that, it would be Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah. Could be. It would be volatile and fun and potentially
juicy,
potentially very annoying by the end of it too. I just know, though, people who are paid to follow the Pittsburgh Steelers and to follow the NFL from a black and gold perspective, like actually paid to do it, they want Aaron Rodgers there because they will have no shortage of headlines to write throughout the course of the season. And neither will we here on the Steel Curtain Network if that happens, but we'll be here either way. I just wanted to say, too, to kind of wrap up the where do the Steelers go from here conversation before we get to some questions. I do think, the quarterback is the next domino to fall. And whether that's Aaron Rodgers signing here or deciding to retire or signing somewhere else, that's the next domino to fall. From there, the Steelers, I think, are really waiting out this compensatory pick deal to see what they can get after the draft, because I believe on May 1st, after the draft, the compensatory formula, you can sign anybody you want to after that, and it doesn't go up against that. They've already filled most of their gaps. I think that they need some help along the offensive line still. I think that they obviously need to figure out the quarterback position. But most of the depth holes are filled. So then it comes to the draft and getting a couple starters there, a couple key contributors there, which I think will be defensive tackle, running back, and maybe wide receiver, probably something on the offensive line. I don't know, Corey, it's probably not a bad idea to start. I would start drafting an edge rusher every year too, somewhere, just to see what you can get in that fourth rotational spot while TJ Watt gets a little older. Alex Highsmith's next contract is coming up, and Nick Herbig goes through his rookie contract as well. So that's a position of huge import to the Pittsburgh Steelers and in the NFL today. So keep drafting those edge rushers and see what you can make out of it. But so that's the conversation for where do the Steelers go from here? We'll get to some of your comments and questions, listeners, here in this next part of the show. Going to go ahead and take a quick break for the audio side of things. If you are listening and watching live, we're not going anywhere. We will be right back. And welcome back to the Steelers Q&A. We never left. You just went and listened to some ads. Come on, people, skip those ads. I don't know. Whatever your
No, don't skip those ads.
Oh, I'm
They
sorry, don't
pay
skip
for
the
our
ads. No, listen to
they
those
pay
ads.
for our
Listen to those ads.
program. We got to pay the bills, right?
Listen to all those ads. And go buy stuff, you know. I
Well,
don't know. I don't even know what
I
we're
don't know about all that.
advertising for right now, but
I won't advocate for what we're advertising. I'll just say listen to it.
yeah, just listen to it. Right. Exactly. Exactly. Okay. I've got some questions that I starred from previous comments. Keep them coming though. We will get to all of those. Let's start with one. It was a little bit later on in the conversation, and we'll get to some earlier ones. Bradley Woolard says, doesn't it seem like the Russell Wilson drama was a lot more bearable than Rodgers? What do you think, Corey? Is that your take on this too, or do you feel like it's 6 one way, half dozen the other?
No, I think that the Russell Wilson drama was by far easier to deal with than anything that Aaron Rodgers is going to present for this team. For all the talk that Russell Wilson had in Seattle and Denver, he acted really well here in his time here in Pittsburgh. He acted like a true professional. You really couldn't have asked more from him except to play better. So, and
Sure.
that's why he's on the outside looking in right now. So he was the consummate professional here. So yeah, the Aaron Rodgers drama by far worse.
Okay. So the offseason drama of where Rodgers is going to sign, I mean, I've been pretty vocal about this too. I don't have any problem with it. From his perspective.
I'm expecting that this is low level for Aaron Rodgers in an offseason. So
Sure.
this is tame. This is tame for him.
This is and again, this is a human being trying to make the last decision of his NFL career, basically, where he's going to play. So I give him some leeway for that. But I will say this: the behind the scenes drama for Russell Wilson seemed to be something that was a big enough riff with the team that they were like, no thanks, we're going to go every route possible except you until we can't go any other route yet. So from inside the building, it sounds like that drama was pretty rough. From the outside perspective, I totally get the conversation and the thought process here. The Russell Wilson drama and the Aaron Rodgers drama are two different kinds of drama. Mm-hmm. And the Russell Wilson drama is, can you handle his ultra positive personality and the way he wants to do things? It seems more subtle in how he presents it than maybe Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers just kind of comes out and says, this is how I want things. So Russ is more like, hey, yo, Art, can we, I don't like what you're doing here. Can we do this? And that kind of stuff. So I get it in one sense, but in the other sense, drama is drama, and you have to be able to handle drama as an NFL team. We're so black and gold focused as Steelers fans. Every other team has the same type of drama going on. So, I mean, it's not like that the Steelers are inviting more drama than the average NFL team does. I mean, the Philadelphia freaking Eagles, man. I mean, what team has more drama than them? Their own head coach was yelling at fans this year, and everybody was like, oh, no, the Eagles, they need to get rid of Sirianni, and then they go win the Super Bowl. I mean, come on. There's drama everywhere. Right.
They feed off of it. No, I was going to equate, Russell Wilson to a clingy, a clingy girlfriend. He's like a clingy 5, whereas like Rodgers is like the beautiful 8 that you're trying to land, and he's just like, oh, I want everybody to love me, and that's his shtick compared to Russell Wilson's clingy, I want to be on the team still, and it's a funny dynamic.
It is a funny dynamic for sure, and there's going to be a lot of fun stuff happening in the coming weeks, and the Rodgers drama is just going to be a part of that. I think you got plenty of drama in the building already. George Pickens is there. DK Metcalf's there. I don't know. Mika Fitzpatrick gave us some drama in his own quiet way at the end of last season. So we'll see how that goes.
He did.
All right. So another question here. Let's see. Sorry. Just trying to find a good one here. Okay, here's a good draft-related one. Anthony Godwin asks, who would have to fall that we would not draft a defensive tackle in the first round. So I think the Steelers are almost locked into defensive tackle, so it would have to be something crazy. To me, that player is Ashton Genty. Genty would have to fall to 21 for the Steelers not to go defensive tackle. Maybe Matthew Golden, but that's about it for me. What do you think?
Tyler Warren, Penn State tight end.
Okay.
He's one of those do it all H backs that you can line up anywhere. He's a threat. He's a threat regardless of where you put him. So with a do it all gadget like that, you don't let that pass up. I don't think he's going to make it I don't think he's going to make it past 15. But Genty, like you said, definitely I could see that. Who else? I mean, I can't really see Shadur Sanders falling for any reason.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to be the way it is in the end. I think he's going to go in the top 15 picks too, probably.
Yeah, maybe one of the linebackers falls.
Yeah,
but I don't know. Where's Imana supposed to be? Where's he slotted to go right now? I've seen him as high as 5. I've seen him as low as like 25. But
5's a little crazy. I think
that dude's.
I think his maker. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I think his ceiling in the draft's probably Carolina at 9 because they need just playmakers on their defense. But I think he probably goes in the teens. He might still be there at 21. A lot of that is going to depend on the quarterbacks, and I think the wide receivers too. How many of these wide receivers are going to go in the first round? You've got Egbuka, you've got Golden, you've got Tet McMillan, you've got that's about it really. That maybe I can't remember his last name right now, Trey something. But he's another Ole Miss wide receiver, I think. And he's got some buzz as we get closer to the draft. But yeah, I think it's one of those megastar type players. It's one of those, oh man, this guy's a top 5 talent in this draft, just at a position that is not as highly valued as some, like running back. So if Ashton Genty gets there. And Tyler Warren is interesting to me because the Steelers just paid Pat Freiermuth. They've got Darnell Washington for 2 more years. So I don't know, but having him on the team would allow you to do so many things that you can't do even with Pat Freiermuth and Darnell Washington on the roster. So
he presents a bigger, faster option than Connor Hayward would.
Yeah.
So with you go from 6 foot and 230 to I think Tyler Warren's 6'5", 257. There's just so much more you can do with that out of the H-back position.
Yeah, there really is. He would be such a fun toy. But do we trust Arthur Smith to play with it correctly?
He's supposed to be the tight end genius. I'm
true.
waiting to see these 2 and 3 tight end packages where he's all wizarding them up out in packages. But we're waiting to see.
And that may have been the quarterbacks he had on the roster last year too. Neither of those guys like to throw over the middle. One thing Aaron Rodgers still does better than a lot of quarterbacks is hit those seam balls to tight ends and slot receivers. So there's going to be a lot more of that this year if Rodgers is the quarterback.
I don't necessarily know if he's good at it, but he hasn't lost his confidence in doing it. That's for sure.
He's good. He throws some darts. Let's see here. Another draft related question. Afton not a question. This is a statement, but I wanted to talk about it. I definitely like the drafts more than free agency, but Elliott proved to be our best pickup last year, in my opinion. Wondering who it'll be this year. Of the free agents that they've got so far, which was your favorite? Who do you think makes the biggest impact for them?
I mean, are we including DK's? That he was a trade.
Yeah, I think so. I think we have to.
He was a trade. I'm liking. Well, see, there's not a whole lot to choose from because they've been very careful about selecting them due to all the comp picks. So,
what about Juan Thornhill as
that
like
was
the
one that I
safety?
was thinking of. That was the one that I was thinking of. I'm hoping that he could step into, that role there and solidify it. Did we offer Kazee back or did he go somewhere else?
Not yet. He's still on the open market.
Well, there's gotta be a point where the Steelers are gonna throw an offer at him. I know there's a lot of familiarity there. I know he wants to come back. I think they're just probably on the timing of that,
Yeah.
especially with a lot of these June 1st cuts. So, once that happens and the Steelers are really back down to the nuts and bolts of their base salaries, then they can really start to add in those late players for when they're getting ready to head into
Yeah.
camp and things like that. So I think that's probably when we're going to see Kazee again. But Thornhill being here, I like what he brings to the team. He's always been a physical player. I just think that with where he was, because he was in Cleveland before, right?
Yep.
I think that Cleveland's had a decent defense, but Thornhill just really hasn't fit into it, and hasn't really found a fit with any of the teams that he's been with. So I'm hoping that he can come here and really provide some depth and some leadership.
Yeah, I agree. Here's the one I would say too. Don't let your love Steeler Nation of Landon Roberts and what he brought to this team last year make you hate on Malik Harrison. I think Malik Harrison is going to bring a lot to this team as well. He would only be the fourth linebacker coming onto the field, but what he does is he provides you an absolute ace on special teams wherever you ask him to play. So he's going to be really, really good in the role that he's brought in to be. And I think that this is a guy who started for the Baltimore Ravens last year, and took over the job towards the second half of the season when the Ravens defense went from worst in the NFL to best in the NFL. So he's got talent. He's younger, and he provides you help on special teams, which Landon Roberts did not. So don't let the love of Landon. I love Landon Roberts too. Don't let that cloud your judgment of Malik Harrison coming in. He's got a lot to offer to the team as well. Let's see. Here's a fun statement. Punk Drummer says, "Bring back Ben." Why not at this point?
I mean, he put a short out there that he was thinking about it.
He did.
So.
It was facetious, I think, but at this point, I mean, could he be that much worse than what you're going to get on the open market? I don't think so. And how fun would it be for the 2 or 3 games that he stayed alive back there to have number 7 back there again?
Right.
All right. Let's see here. This is a good one. We haven't talked about this really on any show that I've been a part of. So, Corey, let's talk about it. Steeler Chick 46 says, "What are your thoughts about Najee calling out Steelers since going to Chargers?" Corey, what do you think? Is he right to do it? Is he saying right things? What's going on with this?
I think that if Najee really wanted to trash the Steelers, he could have done it in a much more explicit way. He could have said so much more, but I think he was reserved in, shedding too much judgment on the Steelers, but I think he was just excited about, the big difference in the facilities. I mean, let's not get this twisted. The Steelers have been, not exactly stellar grades for their facilities, and the ownership. What was that article that came out a couple weeks ago giving grades for everything? Steelers really didn't do all that good.
Yeah,
and
NFL grades.
So is it any surprise that we're hearing Najee say this then? So
yeah,
it's just one of these situations where I have appreciation for Najee because of the work that he put in for the Steelers. I mean, the amount of touches that he put in was, I just saw an article earlier today where over the last 5 years, he had the most touches in the league.
Yeah.
So, when you put in that much work over the last 4 years. So when you put in that much work and the Steelers didn't really show him the love, they didn't give him that 5th year. They didn't give him an extension, for a storied franchise that needs a power running back, and he didn't stick around. What does that say about Najee? So I think that there is a chip on his shoulder to go to the Chargers and prove everybody wrong. For his sake, I hope we didn't run the wheels off of him before we sent him out there.
Right.
Because towards the end, he was losing a lot of his acceleration. He reminded me of like a late career Steven Jackson. He had the acceleration of a Ford Fiesta at that point. It was just It was
He
brutal.
reminded you of a late career Steven Jackson in his rookie contract. That is the problem with Najee Harris. But
Yes, yeah, too
um,
much wear and tear in the wheels
yeah,
already.
I'll give him this. He's not wrong about the Steelers from the perspective of they didn't have anybody on the offense, that was a seasoned veteran. He wasn't going into an offense that had a lot of chemistry and cohesion because the quarterback situation was aging Ben Roethlisberger, your rookie year and your second year, right? He was there for 2 Roethlisberger years.
Mhm.
And then it was Trubisky. It was the Trubisky, Pickett, Rudolph triumvirate that we all were like, what are we doing here? And then this last year, it was Fields and Russ. And there was at no point in all this, and it was Matt Canada and then first year Art Smith. There's no point in this where there was any stability for Najee Harris. So I get it. But I
And
also think
the struggles with the talent with the O line in general.
Yeah. O-line issues for sure were a big part of it too. And I get the facilities talk, but like I put all this out on X too. It's like the Steelers do need to do some modernization, but the Pittsburgh Steelers they don't attract free agents for their weight room. They attract it because of the 6 Lombardis in the trophy room,
culture.
and LA doesn't have that in their trophy room.
Right.
They don't. The LA Chargers don't even have a division title trophy in their trophy room since they've been in LA. So let's talk about that. All that stuff plays into this conversation to me. So, and I felt like Najee was giving more excuses, and I've always kind of felt like he did that in Pittsburgh. He was kind of an excuse giver more than a Cam Hayward, where I've got to play better. We've got to play better. It wasn't. That's not the vibe I get from Najee. It's more of like, well, I feel like I could have done more, but my situation didn't help me. So taking some ownership of it. But again, like we want these guys to be candid too. And that's his candid thoughts. I'm not going to hate him for it either way. I just think, yeah, it was true what he said, but also I felt like the way he did it was a little bit complainy, and I'm not about that so much with my NFL talent. So good luck, Najee, but we're going to beat you when the Chargers come to town this year. Or no, I think we're going out there this year. So we shall see. This is a comment on the previous question we were talking about. Kenneth Gainwell. I can't believe I didn't think about him, but he's kind of like Mason Rudolph for the Steelers, where you're not forced to take a running back in round 1, or now that they don't have a second round pick, you don't have to feel forced to jump back into the second round to get a running back, because Jaylen Warren and Kenneth Gainwell together, I think, can be dynamic enough. And then you would just go sign like a free agent type, like a J.K. Dobbins or something like that, to kind of give you a 3-man rotation at running back, or get one of these 4th, 5th round guys. Those guys are going to contribute on your team anyway, the way this group looks. But let's not forget about Kenneth Gainwell, Corey. I think that's a good point from Mark Cunningham.
I totally saw his comment earlier. I wanted to say something about it because I did completely forget about Kenneth Gainwell. I do want to say this. I do want to address this because I would not be surprised if the Steelers really did decide to try to go into the season with Jaylen Warren as their number 1 and Gainwell as their number 2, as their 3rd down back. There's a complete possibility for that. Now, does the size concern you? It would, but if this team's really supposed to be zone run scheme, you're going to need a lot of that agility to get to the outside. You're going to need, smaller players. I think that Jaylen Warren has proven that he is more than powerful enough to be a lead back. So I don't necessarily think that I don't necessarily think that they're going to do anything else in free agency for a running back, and I would not be surprised if they did not address it early in the draft either. I'm talking like not spending anything until a 6th or a 7th on it.
Sure. I mean, that makes sense. And there's it's just a really good group. So I think that they've got options.
You could get something good super late in the draft still, and they might be able to still find a gem that can be their short yardage back, their 3rd down back, or their 3rd down short yardage back, their goal line back.
Like an Ollie Gordon. He's probably going to be there in the 5th round, but with as deep as this running back class is, and like the lack of explosive numbers at the combine that you saw. So he's one of those guys who's going to tumble a little bit, not necessarily because he's a bad running back, but because there are other guys who are going to have risen throughout the process. Like Steelers had this guy in for a visit too, K-State's DJ Giddens. He's going to rise up the draft board because his testing numbers were elite. RAS score, he's like the 50th ranked running back out of 2000 since 1987 or something like that they've tracked via RAS. So he's got a lot going in his favor here. Let's see. Okay, we talked about Najee. Let's do this to kind of wrap up the quarterback conversation as far as free agents go. If not Rodgers or Russ, this question from Eric Parker. Sorry, Eric. If not Rodgers or Russ, then who is the starting quarterback? Mason, right? That's got to be it.
I mean, unless Jeff Hartman's going to go out there and try to take a job from him.
Yeah, he's probably in the best shape of any of us to do that. I don't know. Coach KT probably could get out there and chuck the rock for the Steelers. What do you think?
All right, I'm down for that. I mean, he would obviously know the most about operating an offense. So,
yeah, that's true. That's true. So, we'll see. But I think it's going to be Mason. And I don't think they're hunting a rookie quarterback this year. I mean, they're probably going to bring in a depth guy. They're talking to enough mid-round guys, and that'll bring us to our next question here. Any thoughts from Brian Harrington says, any thoughts on quarterback Kyle McCord as an option day 3 of the draft? I like Kyle McCord, and not saying that necessarily as a former Ohio State Buckeye, but he kind of dashed my dreams as an Ohio State Buckeye, but he had a good rebound there in Syracuse. So I like some of the traits. He's got NFL size, but he is so like sporadic as a thrower of the football. One moment he's throwing lasers, and the next moment he's throwing ducks, and you don't know what to expect on any given throw. So he's got a lot to work on. But as a day 3 prospect, I do like Kyle McCord. I like Will Howard better. I like Tyler Shuck better, but those guys are going to go day 2 probably.
I agree with you. I think all 3 of those, if they were to fall, would be great options for day 3 picks. But I'm with you. I think they go 3rd round, 4th round, latest. All 3 of them have that kind of same profile where they've got good NFL size, decent NFL talent. They're just going to need some training to put it all together.
Yeah. But who's your favorite quarterback in this draft? Do you have one?
My favorite quarterback would be the best fit for the Steelers that gives them the best opportunity to win, and not necessarily win right away. So if you're going to draft a quarterback, you want a franchise quarterback, hopefully. So
yeah,
you have the idea that you pick a quarterback and the light's going to come on and he's going to get it, and you caught lightning in a bottle, right? That's what we're talking about here. So I do like Tyler Shuck. I do think he is intriguing. I still think there are limitations there. Cam Ward, it's going to take some training. Shadur Sanders, I think it's going to take some training. So Tyler Shuck,
Tyler Shuck. Tyler Shuck is the safe one, right? Because he's got the most.
He's got backup written all over him.
Yeah. He's got a potential to be a franchise quarterback, I think. But he has to go to the right situation. If I were the 49ers, I'd be all over Tyler Shuck on day 2. Like, what are you gonna do with Purdy? Number 1, I made the argument on the Draft Dynasty podcast that the 49ers should not pay Brock Purdy, and they should draft Shadur Sanders with the 11th overall pick. Because if you're Kyle Shanahan, you believe in your system to take quarterbacks where they need to go. And Sanders has more upside, I think, than Purdy does. And he can at least give you what Purdy gives you, in my opinion. But that's not hating on Brock Purdy. That's just, as a prospect, he was drafted with the last pick of the draft for a reason, because as a prospect, there wasn't a lot to love, but he had enough traits, moxie, and fit well enough into Kyle Shanahan's system to be an upgrade on Jimmy Garoppolo. I think you can continue to upgrade the quarterback position without paying him $60 million, and you stay on that rookie contract deal. You trust your system. You're Kyle Shanahan. You put the weapons around him like you've been doing for Purdy and Garoppolo, and you're in better shape than if you paid a $60 million quarterback.
So the 49ers, the Vikings, there's two systems where you could probably throw either one of those 3 third-round quarterbacks in there, and they're going to fit in the system, and they're going to get the most out of them. They're going to make them decent, viable NFL quarterbacks, even if the greatest arc of their career is just as a backup. Whereas you get these other
would make
teams
sense too to the Rams.
Yes, yeah, same thing. Yeah, McVay to the Rams. He's an offensive wizard. He's a quarterback whisperer, but you can't send those guys to quarterback hells, like Cleveland. You can't send them to Cleveland. That's the quarterback cemetery. Chicago. Well, I think Chicago's gonna change, especially with what's his name, Ben Johnson going up there. I think that's gonna change how Chicago's viewed. They're already making investments in their O-line. I think they're actually going to be a good team this year.
I'm gonna go ahead and throw this out there. Caleb Williams is an MVP candidate in 2025.
I'm gonna pump the brakes on that one. I don't know about all that, but I think he's definitely going to be better. I definitely think he's going to be better.
He'll be pushing 40 touchdowns by the end of the year. Caleb
Most
Williams.
NFL quarterbacks do, unless you're named Jameis Winston, then you hit the 30,
I don't know.
club.
40 touchdowns? I don't think anybody hit 40 touchdowns last year, but
did that? No, actually,
no. I think
trying to think.
Sam Darnold had 36. He was the leading touchdown thrower last year, I believe. I can check that. But while I do that, Corey, answer this question for me. Bradley Woolard says, when are we going to invest in some cheerleaders?
We don't need cheerleaders. We never have.
We have terrible towels, Bradley. We got terrible towels.
We barely have a mascot. That's actually where my handle comes from. So
right.
It's almost sacrilege to say that they have a mascot at this point. If you ask Jeff Hartman, he has a fit about it every time. He hates Steely McBeam as the mascot, but no, it's I think if the football's good enough, what do you need cheerleaders for, right? Isn't that true? Isn't that what Rooney said in the beginning?
It is, and it holds true to this day. Okay, I lied very, very poorly. 3 guys hit 40 plus touchdowns: Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, and Baker Mayfield. All had 40.
Mayfield. Okay.
Yeah, 40 plus touchdowns. Jared Goff at 37, Sam Darnold at 35. So Darnold was in 5th. Both freaking Knicks had 29 touchdown passes.
I mean, I know he had a slow start to the season, but he really caught fire there in the middle. And
he did.
And then towards the end there, he really got hot.
Yeah. And I'll
he's got a break.
I'm going to hold by it too, though. Caleb Williams is my pick to have the best season of any of the sophomore quarterbacks. Better than Jaden Daniels, better than Bo Nix. I'm going to say it right now.
Okay. What are we quantifying this by? Let's be fair about that.
No, I'm just saying by the end of the season, between all the sophomore quarterbacks, Caleb Williams will have had the best year.
He'll have the consensus better year than the other two.
Yes. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
That's my opinion. That's my thought. He'll have is Jaden Daniels, is he an MVP candidate? That's kind of was the thought process last year. I think Caleb Williams will have that season this year.
I think Jaden Daniels is going to take a big step into that conversation this year. I think.
Okay.
I'm probably not going to hold to it through the whole year, but Eagles, Skins for the NFC Championship, I could totally see that. Totally see that.
So a rerun of this last year. We'll see. Yep. I am predicting a sophomore slump for the Commanders. I really am. Sophomore of their Daniels and their head coach. there's going to be a lot of hype on those guys, a lot of expectation on those guys. And there wasn't any of that last year. They had nothing to lose last year. They played like it all season. They're going to have more to lose this year, and I think it's going to catch up to them. Now, I'm not saying long-term they're not going to be a good team or that they're not going to be a good team. I think they're going to have the 2024 Texans season this year.
Okay. I see what you're saying. They've been adding a lot of good names in free agency, trying to load up. I think that's probably what they're trying to do. They want to try to prevent any kind of sophomore slump that they might see from Jaden Daniels. But I mean, you never know. Jaden Daniels just might be that guy. He might just be a different beast entirely. That it just doesn't matter, So we'll see. It's exciting to see what he accomplished in his rookie season.
It is. It will be. Jaden Daniels had 25 touchdown passes last year.
And then how many did he go? How many have rushing?
Good point. Let's see here. Was it 9? Can't remember. See stats for Jaden Daniels. He had. It doesn't say on this. Rushing. There it is. Okay. He had 6 touchdowns last year. So.
Okay.
So 30.
Really? That's it?
Yeah. 31 total touchdowns for Jaden Daniels last year.
Thought he had more than that.
Yeah, I did too. All right. Hey, good show. Fun show. Had a lot of good questions. Had a lot of good conversation. Corey, anything you want to plug or talk about before we head out?
Yeah, I'm going to be getting an article together this week on the health of the offensive line, see where we are, the state of the rebuild. The Steelers started it last year. They brought in 3 new offensive linemen in the first 5 picks. How's that been progressing? Is Pat Meyer getting the most out of these guys? There's a lot of questions there. Are they done investing? What's the health? What's the health check of the offensive line? I'm going to be releasing that one this week. Cool. Obviously, you can head over to my handle and give me a follow over there on X. And anytime you want to have me on, I'll be on. Yeah, love coming on here with you.
Cool stuff. You're one of my best guys for the Q&A, and we appreciate you always when you hop in. Thank you to the listeners, to those watching live. Thank you to all who will be listening to this on audio as well. If you're missing the live show, though, come and watch us on Sunday nights throughout the off season here, and get your questions in. We'll talk to you. We'll talk about all of the different things going on with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Follow me on X at thebets93. Follow Corey on X at Steely_McPitt, and we will talk and chat with you there as well. That's going to do it for us here on the Steelers Q&A. We'll talk to you next time.